G'day everybody and welcome to Fishing with Fergy. This week we're doing something totally different. I'm up here at Port Welshpool. I'm joined by Lukey Aneeda. Welcome Luke. Thanks for coming and joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Luke is a professional fisherman here at Port Welshpool in Corner Inlet. And it always interests me, the commercial fishery, and also too the misconceptions a lot of people have about what the commercial fishermen do for the industry or don't do for the industry. There's two sides to every story, you know. I was sort of calling this one, Luke, hookers, me being a hooker versus the pros. So hookers versus pros today for a bit of fun. But it interests me, Luke, what you do for a job, mate. So we're going to have a chat with Luke and let's open up people's eyes about commercial fisheries, why we need commercial fisheries and why we need to understand and work side by side, isn't it?
That's right, mate. Definitely.
So Luke, how long have you been a commercial fisherman?
So I've pretty much been going out on boats all my life with my father, and then I went crayfishing for quite some time, and then back in the industry probably for the last 18 to 20 years.
So that's a long time.
Yeah, it is a long time.
What type of commercial fishery do you actually operate, mate? How does your job work?
So we have a net fishery here in Corner Inlet. We have a seed net that we're allowed to do 2 shots in a 24-hour period.
Yep.
And we also have mesh nets or set nets that can be as long as 1,600 metres. You know, we don't always use the 1,600 metres, but they're often set for either 3 or 4 hours at a time, or when it gets to winter and there's less species and less damage, like less crabs and stuff around, you might leave them overnight.
Cool. And that's something interesting, Luke, because quite often I'll be up here, I'll be launching at daybreak or stupid o'clock. I'm out here at 4:35 a.m. in the morning, and you guys are just coming off the water.
Yeah.
What time do you guys normally start?
Well, we work on the low tide when we're seining with the big net that we tow around. We sort of work on the low water, so you head out a couple of hours before low water, and you might do a shot at low water then, and then you'll either do a shot straight away on the flood after that, on the first of the flood, or you might head out again for the next low tide, or that might be it. You might just because all our fishing's done on the banks mainly. You know, like a lot of it is just on the banks in 3 foot of water. Which
is where 90% of recreational fishermen aren't fishing.
That's exactly right. That's why there's not that many interactions with recreational fishermen down here. I mean, you mentioned the calamari and the squid fishing. If there's going to be an interaction or something, it might be because we're in the same area as the wrecks are, and they want to catch the calamari just like we want to catch the calamari. They're $33 a kilo.
Everybody loves calamari,
and they're beautiful. You know, so people catch them and they put them on the hook, and I think to myself, the best eating fish in the sea.
You know, I'm one of those idiots, don't you? You know, we don't eat calamari.
Yeah.
I probably catch quite a few a year. Yeah. It's all bait for me. Yeah. They are cryovac. They're looked after. They're big snapper baits for me.
Beautiful.
So, but like for me, I've fished Port Welshpool for about really hard for the last 10, 11 years. My main interactions with the commercial fishermen here is at the ramp. G'day guys, how'd you go? Have a good shoot, mate. And sometimes, hey Pete, here, have a couple of yakkers or something, you know? It's always positive. I never have an interaction on the water.
Well, that's how it works with us, you know. We want people to come to Corner Inlet and have a positive fishing trip, and especially when they got kids on the boat with them, and you want people to be out there having a great experience.
We all do it because we love it.
So you get to the ramp, and the last thing you want to do at the ramp is to be sitting there looking at people that don't want to interact with you. So I always get along with, I always say g'day, and people will either speak or they won't speak. But most of the time, and I would say it'd be 90% of the time, people are just interested in how'd you go. Exactly. What'd you catch? You lift the lid on the esky. Oh, you got some silvers. Yeah, no worries. Chuck a couple of silvers up onto the jetty and away you go, you know. Like, a lot of the times it's, where's the best spot to go and catch a whiting, or where can I go and catch a gummy? And you're happy to give them little tips away because you want people to have a really positive experience, and that's what it is.
Country town.
That's exactly right.
So Luke, sustainability, it's a big word these days, no matter what we do. People think that the pros just rape the fishery and don't care and kill all these undersized fish. It's not the fact, is it, mate?
No, that's bad for business. Yeah. That would be unsustainable. Everybody's got a different mind of what a sustainable fishery looks like. There's no doubt about that. But sustainable fishery is leaving fish for the next generation, having plenty to catch yourself. So there's a lot of different things we put in place to make sure. So undersized fish go back over the side alive. We try to kill as little as possible in both sets of nets. So in the sea net, everything's bagged up, it's alive, swimming around. Unwanted species goes back.
Straight back over.
Yep. Undersized species straight back over. You know, and then in the mesh nets, we typically use a mesh size that is chasing the fish.
A particular species, isn't it?
Particular species of fish. So undersized gummies and stuff like that bounce off it. They don't actually tangle in it and stuff. And they're slung, you know, they're slung tighter or slacker compared to what you're actually chasing. So,
and that's an interesting thing, Luke, because a lot of people don't understand that. I try and educate people about this when I do talks. Because the net size is, when you're netting gummies, your net's a shoulder shape like this, isn't it?
Yeah,
mate?
that's right. Yeah.
That it's designed, the net's designed that a smaller undersized gummy swims through.
That's right.
The big girl will come up, bounce off. So that doesn't feel good.
Yep.
Because the nets are designed to catch predominantly 5 to 8 kilo fish.
Yeah, that's about it. Probably even a little bit less. You know.
Yeah.
So
which is the fish and chip
so
shop.
it's your medium size fish. Your medium sized shark, I should say. So. And that's right. So there's quite a few things we do for, you know, to maintain sustainability, and you know, like I said, everybody's got a different mindset of what it is, but a lot of us now, and my business is built around selling to restaurants. So I'll fill the orders to the restaurants.
Yep.
That gives me my money for the week. I don't really need to do much more than that. So. You know, I go to, you know, we do go out fishing, we do send some to the Melbourne market, but, you know, if it gets to a Friday and there's going to be a heap of people around or whatever, you know, it's a day off.
Good. Well, there's an interesting too, just like good fishermen do, you limit your catch, not catch your limit.
That's right. So you've got, and it's all part of value adding to your own business.
Yep.
You know, so getting more for the fish that you're catching rather than catching more fish.
There you go. So getting more for your catch because it's high quality and selected.
Yep.
Than just going out and killing 100 tonne today just to fill a bin.
Yep, that's right.
There you go. That is how sustainable these guys at Corner Inlet work. So keep that in mind before you think that they're raping the species. So Luke, environmental impact. One thing I've learned a little bit about what Luke and his team do here, because the damage to the seagrass can be a reality from netting.
Yeah, well,
or perceived to be.
Perceived to be. So we have our sea nets are designed to actually sweep through the grass. So they don't actually dig into the ground and rip like people think.
So they just float through them.
The lead goes through it like this, and the fish are in amongst the grass, and it sort of, it just works like a broom on your floor. It doesn't wreck the floor.
Yep.
It sweeps up the garbage sort of thing. So for us, the garbage is the fish, and that's what we want. In saying that, we have a seagrass project where we rehabilitate the seagrass.
You replant them, don't you?
We are planting the seagrass, yeah. And we do that with, it's not only the commercial sector, it's with Yarram Landcare, CSIRO are involved, and there's some recreational fishermen. We've had, you know, the tourist boats from Woods's Promontory come and help. So it is a community effort.
So you collect, if I'm correct, Luke, you collect the bulbs that have naturally came out of the water and go and replant them, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. Yep. And we have dive, you know, and then we've got another way of actually taking plugs and replugging now. So divers taking areas and they plant it like a checkerboard.
Yep.
And then the little squares all join up.
Because seagrass is without a doubt probably the most important part of this corner of most fisheries, because that's where life begins. You know, the whiting spawns, or, you know, this little baby snapper, the little, you know, flathead, they all hide and live in that seagrass. And without that seagrass, well, there ain't no fishing in the future, is there?
That's exactly right. So the seagrass, the broadleaf seagrass in Corner Inlet is, you know, different to anywhere else in Victoria, pretty much. And it's the most integral part of our fishing. So, you know, once again, it's like farming. You don't, you know, plough the paddock and then you know they reseed it for the next year. Well, we don't want to plough it up, but we want to look after it so that it's there all the time. So it's bad. Once again, it's like catching all the fish.
Yep.
That's bad business. Well, it's bad business if you're wrecking the bottom floor, which is actually feeding the fish, which is feeding your business.
So that's a really good thing, guys. This is what you guys have initiated this, correct?
Yes. Yep.
It's their initiative to do it. It takes a lot of time. They're not just going out and raping it. They're actually thinking about the future generation, so their kids will all have fish to catch, and you'll have a sustainable business model for you to hand down to your kids.
That's correct. So, and like we had an issue with the sea urchins, and because we're on the water all the time, it was a commercial fisherman that noticed. You're monitoring. It's like your farm. The farmer knows where every hole is. Well, we know where every blade of grass is, or we try to. And the more you know, the better you are at fishing. So, it's just about monitoring your farm, because that's what we call it. It's our little farm.
Well, there you go. So don't worry about the environmental impact. The commercial fisheries, particularly here in Corner Inlet, are on top of that and actually giving back and taking care of the environment.
Yep.
Mate, you guys should be commended for that. Okay, so next one, Luke. How long from when you catch a fish, like you're out there at 4 o'clock this morning doing a shoot, when is that realistically on a restaurant table in Melbourne?
So we go out fishing.
Yep.
You catch a fish, you box your fish that day. Stewards Transport will pick up the fish and have it in the Melbourne Seafood Centre by 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yep.
It's sold that morning and it's back to a fish shop and probably in the window by lunchtime that day.
So within 24 to 36 hours, it's on the thing, or you're in a restaurant, you're eating it, so that is your prime fish, isn't it?
And it's the same when I do the restaurant stuff. I've got a logistics team that come and pick it up, and they actually pick it up a little bit earlier in the day, so by lunchtime. So if I'm out early in the morning, I pack down the species that they want. Logistics team comes and picks it up, it goes to Melbourne, and it'll either go out to the restaurant that afternoon, or it'll go out the next morning.
Doesn't get much fresher than that, does it, mate?
That's right. It's as good as it gets.
So it's pretty quick and pretty easy. And one thing on that, what people probably don't realise, those who fish Port Welshpool will, there's a good saying about Port Welshpool, is that the wind is made here.
We send it all around the world,
And right. This is one of the most windiest environments. So if you go into a seafood shop and you can't buy that King George whiting today because there's no stock, guess what? The wind kept you off the water.
Yeah, that's right. And it's the best. You're getting back to sustainability. The wind is nearly the best thing
up here,
as far as sustainability goes, because there's just so many. There's weeks where you just don't get on the water.
Mother Nature takes care of itself. It keeps him off the water and me off the water quite often. All right, cool.
One of the other sort of threats to industry is just it's your misinformation,
and that realistically is a fact. The amount of misinformation, social media. It's great, we love it, we use it ourselves all day long, but like a lot of things, the misinformation is just a disaster, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And some fisheries, people hear bad things about one fishery, and then they, every fishery gets branded the same, and it's just not the case. Look, the differences between Port Phillip Bay and Corner Inlet, and I can sit here and talk about them all day long, but there is different information that goes around, and it's not quite correct, and people genuinely don't understand how the fishery works, or they've never been and seen it before, but their next door neighbour has told them that this is what's wrong with the industry, and then they believe it and they tell someone else, and then
so if you want the facts, don't be afraid to ask these guys.
No, that's right.
They're happy to help and tell you how it is. And keep in mind, something Luke said before, they do 2 shoots a day, max, correct?
Max, yep.
5 days a week, max. Up your Corner Inlet, they don't shoot weekends, do you?
No, that's right. There's no weekends. Off the water at 12 o'clock on Friday night, and not allowed back on the water until after 5 o'clock Sunday afternoon.
So there you go. The weekends, when this joint's really busy like most waterways, the pros aren't out there fishing. They're only shooting twice a day. Now, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday may have blown 40 knots here like it does.
Yep.
Means you only shot twice for that week, maybe.
That's right. So it's 2 shots per licence.
Yep.
Right. So you've got a maximum of there's 18 licences. So you've got your maximum of shots. But I can't remember the last time I've done 2 shots on a day. To be honest, Mum and Dad get stuck into me a bit. You don't need to work a bit harder, but so
just keep in mind that the biggest threat to the industry for these fishermen up here is nothing but politics and misinformation. So if you see something you don't know if it's right, do a bit of digging and find out first before you spread the rumours, because they're not our enemies, they're here to work with us, eh?
That's right, because the best way to have a sustainable fishing bay or industry is to work together.
Cool. So Luke, you've been fishing for a long time and your family's been fishing here for a long time.
Yep.
What's the biggest changes you've seen to Corner Inlet as a fishery? Have the fish stocks collapsed as people worry, or anything like that? Or is it, what's the biggest changes you've seen?
No, to be honest, the fish stocks haven't changed. Since I've been fishing, they haven't changed. You have good years and bad years. Lean year on land, lean year in the water is how it normally goes. So, and fish stocks, they generally have a cycle where you have your bumpy years or your low years. Like when it's easy for you guys to go out and hook whiting, it's easy for us to catch whiting. When it's hard for you guys to catch whiting, it's hard for us.
So remember that it's not hard to catch a whiting today because these guys have raped it and taken them all. If we're struggling, so are they.
That's right. That's genuinely how it works. So fish stocks have always come and go. You remember the good years, don't get me wrong. You always remember the bumpy years. Nobody wants to remember the bad ones, you know. So the fish stocks haven't changed that much. What has changed, and we just sort of covered it, is the value adding. So in my grandfather's day, they went out there and they would have caught as many as they could, and they would have loaded on as many as they could because they needed to catch a lot of fish to make money because they were only 50 cents and $1 a kilo. You know, silver trevally were 50 cents a kilo, 60 cents a kilo. You're rubbing your hands together if you got 90 cents or $1, you know. And even when my father was fishing, and now, you know, silver trevally are $10 a kilo nearly all the time in the market, you know.
In the market, they're like $18 a kilo in a shop to buy. I used to buy them for bait and it bloody hurts.
And I used to sell them to the bloke who you buy them off for bait, probably.
That's right.
Yeah, but that's how it. So that's one of the biggest changes to our industry. You know, the other thing that's changed is obviously, you know, your boats have gotten. You know, everybody uses a trailer boat, whereas
it's a much better boat. It's more reliable. It's everything.
Fuel costs wise and 4-stroke engines compared to 2-stroke engines. So, you know, that's changed the game a bit. Whereas there used to be a lot of putt-putts. Well, I don't think there's one putt-putt running around in the inlet no more. No. So everybody has trailer boats and stuff like that. So that's another big change. You know, the old fishermen used to have to rely on looking at that mountain behind us and lining it up with that island there. And
now everyone's got a GPS mark they got off a mate or paid for.
That's right. So a bit like the recreational sector, the technology gets better and stuff, which is why you know, the rules and regulations keep changing to make sure that they're moving with the times.
So and that's a really good thing there. In that, as Lucas just said, we have the cycles that we see, they see as well, you know, a lean year on whiting, a lean year on flathead, and that's all cycles, and that is what comes and goes.
Yep.
So that's really good there. And a good thing that I just took away, a point that Luke said about the fact that they're getting a real dollar at least for your catch now. Yeah, we all whinge when we see whiting at $90 a kilo or $70 a kilo, whatever it is. But there's a catch to that, which only just dawned on me then too, Luke. If these guys are getting a reasonable dollar for their harvest, for their hard work and their capture and getting up at 4 o'clock, that means they haven't got to rape the waterway either.
No, that's right. That's exactly right.
Next time you're paying a reasonable dollar in a fish and chip shop for like $9, $10 for a piece of gummy these days, remember the work that these guys have put into it. Remember the fact that they're actually getting a reasonable dollar paid for their effort means they haven't got to go and fish as hard and take as much, do you?
Yeah, that's right. And
that's a big change to the industry.
And it's massive. And, you know, and people forget that Corner Inlet is the last bay and inlet fishery.
Yes.
So it's the last bay and inlet net fishery in Victoria. So predominantly, if you're eating whiting and definitely rock flathead, a lot of these species, it's all come from Corner Inlet. So therefore, if there's not other bay and inlets catching the same species, you know, they're wanted.
The demand goes through the roof. It's like hippies.
They're a wanted commodity sort of thing, and you pay because there's limited, you know, kilos of it. So
exactly.
If you want to feed, that's what you're paying for.
So it's awesome. Thank you. So Luke, a big one for me is, what does the future actually hold, do you think? You know, I see it from my side. I think, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think one of the biggest threats to your industry and the future holding is misinformation, as we just spoke about. Before anyone gets out there and starts going, oh, we've removed the netters out of Port Phillip, we took them out of Western Port, got them out of Lakes Entrance, let's get them out of Corner Inlet, because I'm sure there's some people out there thinking the same thing, let's get them out of Corner Inlet. Just remember, Corner Inlet is the last commercial fishery in Victoria, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the last bay and inlet fishery, net
All right.
fishery.
So if you remove a bay and inlet fishery in Victoria from here, you're going to pay $150 a kilo for a fish in a bloody shop, but the fish isn't going to be there for you or your next door neighbour to go and buy either.
No. So stuff like greenback flounder, rock flathead, that sort of stuff will pretty much be gone from the marketplace if Corner Inlet is to go.
So yeah, people would love to see the commercial fishery taken out of here. It's a big it's a misinformation, and it'd be a big mistake, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would be a big mistake. And what people got to realise is, okay, you're fit enough to go fishing at the moment, so you go out fishing, something happens to you in life, whatever it may be.
Get hit by the bus.
Or, have a heart attack or a stroke or something. You're not capable of going fishing no more, but you still want to eat that fish.
Yep.
Well, where do you reckon it's going to come from?
Yeah, I don't want to be eating bass or fillets from bloody Vietnam, I can tell you that.
That's exactly right, especially if you've been a wreck fisherman all your life and you've been capable of catching stuff like King George whiting or whatever your fish may be.
Yep.
Gummy or whatever it is. People have got to realise that commercial fishing, any fish that you buy from a shop has been caught commercially.
Yes, exactly. So every fish that you eat has been commercially caught somewhere. It's just a matter of, has it been caught sustainably? Yep. Has it been caught thinking of the environment? And that's what these guys at Port Welshpool are doing in Corner Inlet. So keep that in mind before, I know, mate, I can just forecast it. I say you can too.
Yeah.
There's going to be, in the future, there's going to be, let's get it out of Corner Inlet. You know what? I think it's time we wake up to ourselves. Removing it out of Port Phillip Bay, some people love it. Well, we lost a pilchard fishery that was totally sustainable.
Yeah.
We really need to have a good think about what's going on here. And I think the future for you guys should be a very good future.
Well, I'm going to have the licence passed down to me from my father, and I'd like to be able to one day do that with my son.
Yep.
So when they say what does the future hold for me, I'd like to be able to fish here for the next 30 years myself. Go out in the boat with my children, my son, my daughter, whoever it is, and
pass on the legacy.
Pass on the legacy, and you want to be passing on something that's, really sustainable and something that you can be proud of. And that's what the Corner Inlet fishery is to me at the moment. And I've done a lot of work, and that's why I'm happy to come on these sorts of programs and do these shows, because I want to tell people about Corner Inlet. I'm proud of it. I'm proud of the work that we do down here. It's a great fishery. We want to keep it that way. So, as far as I'm concerned, if I can still be sitting here and doing this stuff, in another 15, 20 years, 30 years, and then watching my son or my daughter or my mate's son down at Port Franklin, if he wants to be a fisherman, do it, then that'll be great.
Awesome. Now, how good is that? And just keep that in mind. That is where the future sits for these guys, It's a great industry. They fulfill a much needed need for us. And, mate, there's no better protein to put on a plate for your kids than a feed of fresh fish. A piece of fresh whiting, a piece of fresh gummy. It's some of the most purest protein. Hasn't been messed with any sort of hormones or any sort of artificial feed or anything. It's just been caught sustainably and looked after, and mate, you guys are to be commended for that.
And that's one of the things. Another thing to it is when people are asking for an industry to be brought out, they're not putting the human side of it in there. Like we're fishing families that have been here for years. We're real people that are a part of the community. We give fish to the CFAs for the Good Friday appeal. We give fish to raffles for sporting clubs. We put back into an area which is a small area. We really work hard to be part of the community, and we are families who are involved in the community. Fishing, as much as I love it, is one part of my life.
Yep.
It's a major part of my life, but it's only one part of my life. We are families, and when people are trying to knock you on the head or spreading misinformation, it has effect.
It does.
People you have stress in your life, and you have all these things that go on in your life outside of your work. Well, when you add extra stresses to your work, it can cause, it causes a lot of pain and harm to people, and we are families, and I think sometimes these people who are asking for, to get rid of us, they're taking the actual human nature out of life, and they're not understanding that,
And you're probably like me, Luke. I'm sick to death of people living in the inner cities, in a green belt, in a beautiful house in Toorak or whatever, trying to make decisions for country towns. You know, you got no idea what happens in a country town. We put the food on your plate from the country towns, whether it's a cattle industry, the timber industry, the everything, and they're just sitting in, got multi-million-dollar investments or, inheritance and whatever, and sitting there not in the real world. Come up here to the country, get out of Melbourne, get in the car, bring your kids up here, come up to South Gippsland, have a walk on the long jetty here, say good day to these guys at the ramp, buy a piece of fish here at the local general store, who does bloody good fish and chips. I'm sure it's yours, is it?
Yeah,
he does very, very good fish and chips. Have a look in the town, support these little towns. But mate, I really want to thank you for giving me your time today to come and do this.
Always happy to do it.
This is really good, and this is why I wanted to do this today, is I want to show the heart and soul of an industry that for some reason cops a bad rap. You know what? They're bloody professionals, they're human beings, they're raising a family, and they're giving back to the environment as well as giving to the table. Mate, thank you very much for coming in, Luke.
Cheers.
We really appreciate it, and I hope everybody's got something out of that today. Thanks for watching.